morning. My name is Richard Wexler, and this is Caring in America, the podcast for caregivers and care recipients. So, we're going to have a special episode this morning. I'm going to introduce our young lady, our guest. Her name is Suzanne Tierney. She spent the last 40 years dedicated to lupus patients in Ohio. The goal is to provide a better quality of life until a cause or care for lupus is found. Her passion is providing programs to empower those affected by lupus so they will have a better journey with lupus through education and emotional support. Lupus does not have to be lonely, miserable, and a misunderstood illness. In addition, she is a licensed realtor in the state of Ohio and a senior real estate specialist, owning Harmony Homes Realty, an independent brokerage. Suzanne, are you there, ma'am?
I am here, and good morning to you, Richard. And wow, that was a strong-winded statement you made between you and myself. Okay.
Wouldn't it be nice? I mean, I think I'm being facetious and I'm not being facetious. So you didn't have to be involved in lupus. I didn't have to take care of these parents. I mean, wouldn't life be nice? But it's called life.
It's life. It's life, and unfortunately, we all get a storm. But things could move perfectly along. The skies are blue, no clouds, and all of a sudden, boom, lightning strikes, and there's a reality there. How do you weather the storm?
Yep.
And it's, listening to your story, and living my life, I see hiccups or bumps in the road or mountains, whatever you want to call them, um, with friends, families, colleagues, constituents. No one's free from aging. Okay. Uh, and the other side of that is if you die young, and you don't want that either. So, kudos for you, Richard, for rising to do this. Obviously, it's something very passionate for you, and it's a purpose-driven life. And I say thank you. Um, we need more of you. All right, but there's a reality here going on. Okay, and I actually was very young when I was struck with lupus. And if you don't mind, can I just give a brief synopsis of what lupus is? Because
Yeah, please educate. I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of people that have lupus, and there's obviously a lot of people that don't, but please educate our listening audience. What is lupus?
So lupus it's an autoimmune disease. It's where our immune systems, which were meant to ward off foreign invaders and to protect the host body, something has gone wrong, and your immune system turns against your own self. And now it starts attacking you. It can attack virtually any organ system in your body. There's no cookie cutter disease with lupus. You could have lupus of the brain, you can have lupus of the kidneys, lupus of the heart, you can have systemic lupus, which is the entire connective system. Um, it can hit any organ there is. There's no cure. We don't know what causes it, and we have very few drugs to treat it. It mimics itself as other diseases, and it takes years for a diagnosis. And unfortunately, you're looking at me and you think, oh, this girl looks pretty good. Okay. A little old, a little overweight, but she looks pretty healthy and she's functioning. What you don't see is the 27 pills that I take. Okay.
27.
And that 27 daily. And it's
Wow.
a formula that works. So we don't have a cure for lupus, but we treat the symptoms. Right. And usually with lupus, you just don't have lupus. All right. You have its brothers and sisters. You have multiple other issues like thyroid disease or diabetes or Raynaud's or Sjogren's. There's a host of other sister diseases that accompany lupus. So you're juggling multiple illnesses. And you don't walk around and say, I have 7 autoimmune diseases. You walk around and you say, you have lupus. And I get about 5 good hours out of the day, and then I become dependent on other people, caregivers. And so the biggest challenge in my life is what happens when your caregiver gets sick. And, multiple, look, I can write a book on all of this stuff. But one, thank you for letting me share a little bit about lupus. All right. My journey has been an incredible one. I am an identical twin. My twin is healthy. So is it genetics or isn't it? We're 100% DNA matched. My twin is healthy, and I'm thankful. So is there an environmental trigger that this twin came in contact with? Someday we'll find the answer to this. Okay. But as a young child, I was sick growing up and wasn't diagnosed until it took 19 years to get a correct diagnosis. So there's a great deal of mystery behind the diagnosis of lupus. And here at the foundation, there is no I in the word lupus, but there is us. And we work very hard at creating a community for those who are impacted by this disease to help them with support, education, barriers to care, and moving the mission along to find the cause, cure, and better treatments. So thank you for letting me share that. If anybody has any questions, they can visit our website at www.lupusgreaterohio.org. Okay. Now, about real estate, I was home recovering from a stroke, and I had been a jeweler, and my brother in law was a broker. And he said to me, "You know, too many people to sit here and just melt away." And he insisted that I get my real estate license. Well, I did very well. And usually women don't do that well. And usually you have to take the test multiple times, but I excelled in it. And he had a relationship with probate court. And so coming out of the gate as a realtor, most of my clients were dead. All right. Because I work with probate. And not only did I work with probate, if they had any jewelry or any expensive things, I would appraise them or I would do a search in the house for them. But that's the experience I want to share with you today, the experience that led me to be SRES, a senior real estate specialist, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead. I mean, this is fantastic. First of all, thank you for all the information about what you unfortunately and still go through with lupus, and really want to educate our audience. And we'll get back to the real estate in a second. I don't think I've shared this with you. I don't think I've shared this with our audience. I understand autoimmune disease. I have it myself. I've had it for 52 years, first diagnosed in 1972. So I get everything. And I believe my research, and I could be wrong, 50, 60 million people in this country suffer from some form of autoimmune disease. And as you said, different facets, it attacks different parts of the body. So I totally understand what you're going through. From a real estate perspective, yeah, let's talk about that more. What how this you got into this, maybe some stories you've seen throughout the years working in that industry, and then if there's any stories that tie together both what you're doing with the Lupus Foundation and real estate as well.
Do we have all day? Do we have
Oh
all
yeah,
day?
we have hours. I mean, we have hours. We'll get our listening audience lunch. They'll be fine. We have hours.
Well, there's a couple things that just really resonate with me. And so, in the beginning, in my journey in real estate, I did was very well connected with a attorney who worked alongside probate court. And so, what does that mean? That means that there's an incredible amount of people who do not have wills. Okay. And, back in those days, I was a young whippersnapper. And so I'm talking about my parents, your parents, and you'd have thought these folks would all have wills. They grew up through the Depression ages and they're very protective, very private. So, what we found us having to do is they either slipped or fell in the house. No one else had a key to the house. EMS had to bust down the doors. And too often we found them, they would be lying on the floor and either incapacitated or died. And it would be my job to go in and assess what was left of the property and the assets. And who do you call? Who's the family? Where's the emergency phone numbers? And do they have a will? Do they have a living will? Do they have power of attorneys? And thus a search would begin. So we would go in and do a search, and we would videotape, and we would inventory. And the sad part about it is the families that did finally surface had very little rights once it got into the court system. Okay. And they were going to have to wait their turn. They're going to have to wait their turn to see who had the rights to whatever, whether it be the pictures, the mother's ring, the checking accounts, the assets. And it was sad to see that so many people did not have the right documents that they needed for their fourth stage in life. All right. Or as my son would call it, the fourth quarter. And then from that point on, we would go in and clean the house up and prepare it for sale. We would do the sale and again, work alongside the court, and they would handle how much the house actually, what the deal would look like. So different than if the children had access to this information, they would be in control. Okay. They would say who would list a house, they would say who gets what in the house, but because appropriate paperwork wasn't filed, the courts got involved and they wanted to make sure that everyone would get their rightful share. All right. So I would truly advise your audience. Now, that was my parents' generation, and what's sad that I'm finding out today is we still have that problem. I can't believe that people in their 70s still do not have the proper paperwork. You need to get all your ducks in a row. You can go online and get these forms. Every state is a little bit different, so be careful on what you're getting. You could type in the information in various sites for your state, but you need a power of attorney. You need a living will. You need a will or a trust. If you have assets, you need a trust. Um, I recently, and I'm not going to use names, okay, but I recently had an elderly person in a very wealthy community. Her church called me, and I really didn't want to get involved because it's not a community that I would frequent, and it was hard to get to. And I tried pushing her off, pushing her off, pushing her off. For whatever reason, there was a trust issue. This lady had 4 other realtors before me. And that was a sign that this was a challenging person to work with. And as much as I kept pushing away, her church kept pulling me in closer and closer. Long story short, she had several children in other states. Um, Actually, very well schooled children. And I called them and I said, your mother has approached me to be her agent. Would you like to be involved? And they all said no. It's like, what? And I was surprised. And so we sold the house, right away. And there were no arrangements made for her to go anywhere. And then the poor thing got an apartment nearby, and she wasn't used to key cards and the garage door openers, and she was older. And her second day in, she got lost in the hallway, and someone called the police on her to do a wellness check. Well, she was pretty feisty and independent. She had lived alone for 40 years, and she went kicking and screaming. So what did they do? They pink slipped her. Okay. And they took her away. I couldn't find her for a week. Finally, the church got involved and, we found out what happened. Brought her back home. So now who's looking at her? Department of Health and Human Services. All right. And so, this is a very long, sad story. But at the end of the day, they were trying to do guardianship over her. Her children did not live here in the state. Although some of them rose for the occasion, one was able to get a health power of attorney, and they were going to sign a guardianship for her assets. And don't ask me why, but I rose my hand. I didn't want her to be the state to take her. And I got involved and I became her financial power of attorney, which is a tedious project. No stranger should be a power of attorney of your mother or your father. All right. Now, I'd like to think that I did a great job. All right. But the moral of the story is look out. You got to have this conversation with your parents. Right. And you got to be real with yourself. Illness knocks on our door unexpectedly, no matter what age you are. And these decisions about your end of life or your health care should be made while you're healthy and that you're not impacted with grief or illness. When you have all your full faculties, make these decisions now. Get your house in order now. Strangers should not be deciding where you're living or how you're living or where your money is or who gets your money. This is a responsibility you owe to yourself. It's not anybody else's. And it certainly shouldn't be your children's, right? Do it now. Do it while you can do it. Otherwise, someone else is going to make those decisions for you.
I totally agree. Have you been on the road with me? I mean,
No, I
you
haven't.
sound
I
like
haven't.
me. Um,
Yeah.
like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby for an older audience. But we're what? We're almost 18 minutes into this conversation, folks. I'm going to bring up that four-letter dirty word you guys hate called plan. And it's everything Suzanne is talking. I mean, I talk about this all the time. We plan East Coast, Bahama vacation, West Coast, Hawaii vacation, Europe. We'll plan all the details about those vacations. We'll spend months, but we won't talk to our kids. The adult kids won't talk to the parents. They have no idea what parents want. They think they're financially fine. If this were to happen, care costs $1.99 an hour.
Oh,
It won't be
it's
difficult,
terrible.
and it
It's just
is.
terrible. Yeah.
And then
And if you don't protect that, you'll lose it. You'll lose
yes,
everything.
and if you don't have the legal documents, yes. And folks, listen to what Suzanne's talking about. Listen to what I blabber about on every conversation. This is real. And you really, as Suzanne is saying, you don't want strangers taking care of all the details. You don't want them managing your life, your money. You want to make those decisions. If something does happen to you, what's the care going to be? Who's going to take care of you? But you have to be realistic as well. We have a few minutes left, Suzanne. I mean, this has been great. Um, Tell people a little bit more about what you're doing with the Lupus Foundation in Ohio.
Ugh, not enough. How's that? We
Okay,
could do more. We need to do more. I have to tell you though, donor dollars are really down. All right. And nonprofits since COVID are going to suffer. And I'm not sure how much help we're going to be able to get for those who need it from the federal government, especially in the current climate that we're in. I would encourage you all to start chipping in, whether it be a charity of choice, whether it be your church. Annual giving reports came in for 2023. Religion, which has a very, very large percentage of dollar donors, is down 40%, first time in the history.
wow, wow.
They think that they suspect that religion has been politically polarized. Can you imagine? All right. I don't know if people realize all the good that the majority of churches do. And I don't disagree. There's a few sour notes out there. Okay. There are, but the majority of them help seniors. Okay. They help them go here. They help them go there. They have food. They pick them up for church. They do ministries. They help with household cleaning. They do so much more than people realize they do. I want you to remember to give. One of the things we do here at the chapter is help with barriers to care. I had no idea how many food deserts there were in the state of Ohio. And I can't imagine what there is across the country. When we think about food, do you know that 40% of the food in this country is wasted?
That's
And yet
that's
there's so many
crazy.
people that are hungry. It is crazy. Um, the foundation here, we're about education, emotional support. No one should embark on a lupus journey by themselves. It was a lonely, miserable journey for me as a young child. Okay. It was misunderstood. We're doing better. We're doing better. More doctors treat it faster. More people have heard of it, although they don't know what it is. And don't judge me by my cover. Okay. You can't see, we look okay, but you don't know what's going on in the inside of our bodies. You don't know. It could be pain. It could be an organ malfunction. I could have had a kidney transplant. You don't know. You don't know that every month I see 3 or 4 different doctors and I have to go here, I have to go there. You don't know that some of our prescriptions are 5,000 a month or $23,000 a month. You don't know that. So never judge that person with that handicap sticker. Don't judge that person because you don't know what's going on in the inside. For lupus, I am concerned about the caregivers for lupus. All right. I am concerned because this is happening right now. I have people in our support groups who have been cared very well by their loved ones, and now the loved ones are sick. Now what? What are we going to do? Okay. Do you have an insurance policy for other care? Probably not. Have you had money set aside? Are we spending money? Are we saving money for our old age? Have we protected our assets? Okay. And I can tell you, assisted living and nursing homes and skilled care, I've been in all of them in the last 3 years with some people that I have tried to help. They have such a work shortage, it's impossible for them to give excellent service. The work shortage in this country has gone south. So even though your folks may be in these places, you're going to have to help. They can't do this by themselves. We're in a different time in this country. um, many challenges, and don't think this isn't going to happen to you. And don't think a young person in your family won't get sick. I pray not. Okay, but I've seen that side too. I have another story where a mother and a son, they buried him on the same day. Could you imagine how devastating? I got another story where the young man died and just got married, and the estate wasn't clear, and the new bride got everything, and she left and married somebody else. Okay. I mean, the story after story after story. You worked real hard all of your life. Okay. I don't care if you have $100 bill. Okay. If you live in a trailer, live in a mansion. Okay. Protect your assets. Let people know what you want. Put it in writing. Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? Where do you want to be buried? Okay. All these things are important, and you make the decision. Don't let someone else make it for you.
That's fantastic information. All of it. Folks, I hope you're listening and share this. And I talk about we're about, my family went on this adventure for 14 years. Folks, we're about to start a new adventure, and it's going to affect millions and millions and millions of you. And what do I mean? The oldest boomers are going to be 80 years old in 2026. That's less than 2 years from now. We grew up playing with hula hoops and yo-yos and things like that's a long time ago. It's hard to believe, but the oldest boomers now, they're the older ones in the family. And a lot of them, because of advances in medication, still have parents alive that may be 90, 100 plus. So we're walking into a time in this country we've never experienced before. And you know what? We're not ready. All the things that Suzanne's talking about, the work shortage and the shortage of caregivers and everything else. I know we have a lot going on in this country in many different facets, but we really have to start paying attention to the fact that we're aging. Some of us will do fantastic, make it to 100, go to sleep one night and not wake up. Others, as Suzanne has been talking about, are going to struggle for a few days, a few months, maybe years. So I love this conversation. I love talking with Suzanne. We really have to understand we're in a different place right now than we were 30, 40, 50 years ago. So, Suzanne, is there some contact information you would like to give out if someone wants to get in contact?
Absolutely. The Lupus Foundation, we have a toll-free number. It's real easy. It's 1-888-NO-LUPUS. Okay. Our website is www.lupusgreaterohio.org. You can reach me there if you'd like to talk further. If you know some with lupus, or if they're impacted, happy to connect with them and see how we can help. Okay.
Awesome.
But in the meantime, I want everyone to get their house in order. Okay. Have the conversation now. Don't think that it's something bad isn't. I pray it doesn't. Okay, but these bodies weren't meant to live forever and accidents happen. All right. And we're living longer with the medications, but these medications cost big bucks. Okay, big bucks. And we're in a different world we used to live in. Volunteer, donate what you can to whatever charity you can. Every little bit helps.
Thank you. That is fantastic information. As I do on every conversation, folks, if you want to get in touch with me, you have comments, you have questions, you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, best email eldered2023@gmail.com. As I thank Suzanne once again, folks, as I say on every episode, until we talk again, have yourself an awesome day.